All right. Hello, 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 and good welcome to our latest episode of Training That Drives Business Performance. I'm Susan Gaddy. I am so happy to be here to share something so near and dear to my heart. And I think in this climate this year, especially of trying to figure out how to get people back to work, what do they want to come for? What's happening? There's this massive shift taking place, and every single one of us has such an amazing opportunity to lean all the way into this and to truly take advantage of things we could almost never talk about, never do, and never bring to life before. There's an appetite for it, there's a desire for it, and there's a burning need for it. So today I thought it would be amazing if I shared with you one of the things that I do for myself personally, I do with my team, and I do for many organizations who are looking for really interesting and unique and different ways to really engage with their people, right? I think we all know this, that if the pandemic has taught us anything, is that people are not actually more productive at work. That's not really true. But what is really true for people is that they enjoy being around people. People need people, and people missed people. And, I've had this conversation. I'm going to say it here. If you're joining now, if you're catching on the replay, I'd love to know how you feel about this as well. But I'm noticing more and more and more that it's not the company that people are really connected to. The company is important, their values, don't get me wrong. But at some point, the majority of your workers are not lit up by necessarily what they're doing at work all the time. And I think some people are really angry about this. And I'm not sure I understand why that anger is there. For us at MXID, the way we look at things, it's how do we tap into people's desire to achieve big things in life? And how does the company play a role in making that happen? Because here's what we do know: when people are engaged in what they are doing, they perform at higher levels. And it doesn't matter if that engagement is being fueled by an internal desire to do better at work or just an internal desire to be a better person. And so we're missing out on this opportunity. And that's why I wanted to bring with you or to you today my idea around vision boards. So curious to know, who does vision boards now? Do you believe in them? I hear a lot of people say, Susan, they're fine personally, but listen, this is business. This doesn't work here. I've done vision boards and they don't really get any results. It's just a woo-woo thing. And I'm here to tell you that it's absolutely not true. My vision board that I create every single year drives literally my every single decision, my every single investment, my every single willingness to take actions that actually feel really scary to me. They almost always continue or come from this vision that I've created for myself about how I want to be in the world this year. And let me just show you, because I think this might be a great way to start. First and foremost is that here's my vision board. This is actually my own vision board. I'm actually going to show you where I have it in my house so that I can literally see it for the majority of the day. And I hope that a couple of things that you notice about my vision board is that there's not a lot of numbers up here, right? I've got one numerical number up here, and that's by design. That's for a reason. People's boards look different for different reasons, but my board and the way I look at boards has far more to do with a strategy that we've long developed, that we pour into every training program that we create, that we use in every coaching session that we host. And that is sort of the vision around everything that we do in the pursuit of performance and higher performance. So I want to walk you through probably why your vision boards aren't working so well is because you're actually not doing the right pre-work that makes the vision board powerful and impactful. Then I want to just wrap up and give you a couple of reasons that having the vision board present around you becomes the very next most important thing. So again, whether you're joining us live, catching us on the replay, Today is all about how do you actually create a successful vision board so that the work actually sustains you all year long and becomes really valuable. So I'm going to refer to these four things up here. First one on the upper left-hand corner is this idea of desire. And I don't think it's a word that we talk about enough. I don't think it's a word that we share on a regular basis. I almost never used this word at work, right? Barely in my personal life, but I have found that the more I allow desire to become what fuels me, the more willing I am to take the actions that are required to get there. So the first thing I do when I work with my team, or if I'm sitting with myself, or I'm working with another company, is we just start dreaming about what is it that you desire, right? And desires can be anything. They can be a feeling, they can be a tangible thing that you want to have. It can be work related, it can be personal related. I worked for I took a really great mentorship program one time, and she's like, it's the desire that actually becomes so big that you can attach a goal to it. So oftentimes we're missing that first step. We're taking out the emotion, the connection, the attraction, in the form of desire, and simply talking about the goal, right? Every single company has spreadsheets filled with goals, and you know what happens at every single one of those meetings. They're important. It's not that they're not valuable, but they're not the thing that someone sustains, right? It's not the thing that someone reaches towards. It's not the thing that grabs you here in your heart and propels you forward. And it's absolutely, the number is not going to be the thing that you're going to hang on to when something you want to do feels so big and so beyond who you are today that your willingness to take the risk goes way down, right? So if you need to make investments in your team, if you want to start a company, if you want to, stand up in front of a meeting, if you want to do things that you don't currently do today, there's a reason it's not happening. And when you start with desire, you bring yourself into that future state, and then everything else is working backwards. It's almost like a reverse engineering. How do you see yourself at the end? And when we do the full session, we get into all the senses. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What's happening in there? How do you feel? Like, how do you completely create that vision of where you want to be in the next quarter, in the next 6 months, in the next year, in the next 5 to 10 years? I think that's the other thing that people lose sight of. Your vision board isn't a once a year exercise unless you want it to be. I like to make one for a year, but I like to check in on quarterly basis to see, am I in the right place? Am I doing the right things? Am I following through? So once you have the desire, I'll make this nice and big again so you can see it. We're going to move into the top right quadrant here. Is why don't you have it now, right? This barrier is one of my favorite questions to ask when I am creating training programs for people, because let's be honest, if you had what you wanted, you wouldn't reach out to someone like me. You wouldn't be thinking about, could a dream board help me, right? You would simply be having it and hopefully enjoying it. That's a whole other different story. So there are actually things that are getting in your way. And I want to give you a couple of common ones. We already know there's a skill that you're probably missing, right? That's where training comes in. So there's a skill, there's a knowledge gap, there's something you're not even aware of yet, even before the skill, right? You might not even know a piece of technology exists, or you might not know how to do the thing that you want to do, or maybe you've never done it before, right? Those are all sort of awareness and skill and knowledge, which is traditionally what we think about in training. But beyond that, once you acquire the knowledge, once you get the skill, we are oftentimes still unable to move forward in a way that's meaningful. And that is a direct, write this down for me, people, that is a direct response to your own internal, what I like to call temperature system. We all come with a setting that's comfortable for us. We don't have the time or the inclination to go into all of this today. But anytime you go above that setting, it's just like a thermometer, like a thermostat in your house. If you set it at 70 to go, when it goes below 70, the heat goes on. When it goes to 75, the heat goes off. We like it warm in my house. What can I tell you? And that's it. And unless you change that program, it will never be any different. So you pretty much operate how you've always operated unless you move the switch up, right? Unless you pull the bottom up, right? Unless you make the start temperature 75 and the next temperature 78, you're not going to do anything. So when you think about roadblocks, I want you to be really honest with yourself. When I do this live for people, we have the funnest conversation about the bullshittery. I love to call it the bullshittery. It's the reasons you believe that you're not allowed to have something. And make no mistake about it, there's not a question in my mind. You are the reason you don't have what you want today. 1,000%. Every single person at every single level. And every time you hit the next level, like you hit that level, right? Every time you reach up to that next level, you're back, boom, it's back. People are like, Susan, didn't I deal with this? Of course you dealt with it. But new level, same devil, right? But the thing is, once you get good at recognizing what's happening and solving it for yourself, it just gets easier and easier. So we've anchored into the desire. We've uncovered the roadblocks that come in the form of skills, of knowledge. Sometimes a roadblock, this is a really good one we work with, is people. Who do you need to meet, right? It's really hard to do things on your own. You've got to tap into networks, to resources, to people that are ahead of you. You've got to reach back and pull people up with you. We almost never think about in our vision boards, who do I need to meet this year? Who do I need to be surrounded by? Who's going to elevate me? Who am I going to elevate? Right? That's a roadblock. Those are all things you need to account for. Once you have those major sections figured out, we can hit this this bottom left corner over here. And this is where the vision starts to take shape, right? This is where we say, okay, so what are you going to do this year? What are you going to do this year? And that, as I mentioned before, could be in the form of numbers. But it also could be in the form of experiences that you want to have, situations you want to find yourself in, things that you want to do. For some people, I'm going to show you something on mine. But for some people, part of their vision is seeing themselves in a position of power, especially if you've been in a marginalized role, come from a marginalized background. This is where DE&I, right? This is such a powerful thing to do for people that are learning to, manage around, things from our past, because you will always, not do things that you believe are not possible for you. So what is it that you actually want to do this year? And the other little caution that I'll give to you is, 3, 4, 5, period. 3, 4, 5. I oftentimes see lists like so long, right? You're just dividing your energy. You want to be really targeted and really focused around, if I accomplish this year, I will hit my desire. Right? So get really clear. Start with that big old list, but narrow that way, 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 way down. 3, 4, 5. Honestly, I'm not going to talk about angel numbers right now, but if anybody wants to have a conversation with me on angel numbers, I just recently learned about them. I'm so fascinated by them. But whenever I'm doing my vision boards, I look for repetitive numbers. They're generally called angel numbers. That's almost always how I decide how many goals I need to put. Right? So just a couple of little interesting facts and tidbits there. And then the last part of the preparation process is this bottom right corner over here, which is, how do I anchor it in, right? How do I anchor it in? And a lot of times it's like, what is the one thing that, if I say I will be able to do this for this person, could be you, could be a family member, could be anything, right? Could be a cause, could be a mission. But what is that one thing that anchors me in, that even when I want to quit, even when it feels too hard, even when I've got years of evidence that says, Susan, this is not possible for you. You've tried this before, it didn't work. You've spent that money before, it didn't work. You embarrassed yourself, like whatever it is that you feel like could happen. What's the one thing that is so powerful and so strong that you couldn't quit even if you wanted to, right? Maybe take a break, but you couldn't quit even if you wanted to. This is the power of a vision board. The vision board then is just a representation of these four major categories. So let me just take you back through them again because they're so, so important. Is really spending time. What is it that you desire? And feel into the word desire. I remember the first time I learned about this, I was like, desire. I'm like, desire. I'm like, I don't desire anything. Right? I need some things. Maybe I want some things. I'm like, but do I really even desire anything? I actually had to spend time allowing myself the pleasure. And it is pleasure. It is true pleasure to think about things that feel luxurious, that feel exciting to you, right? Let yourself really lean into that because that is the key to everything. Then it's the bullshittery, right? What are the roadblocks? And roadblocks are real. You don't know the right people, you haven't learned the right skills, right? And then there are those that are more of the will things, right? What are the things you believe are just not possible for you? Write them all out. Then I want you to make, oh, wait a minute, I'm getting ahead of myself on the slide. Then I want you to figure out what it is that you're going to do. Remember 3, 4, 5, keep it tight, keep it short, keep your energy focused. And then what's that one thing that's going to anchor you in? So now that you know how to create the vision board, let me just come back here really quick because I want to just share a couple of things from my vision board and what I've been working on this year. Actually, let me do it this way so that you can see it. These are a couple of things in my own vision board that I've been sharing that I just love and have been so powerful for this year. So one of the big things for me this year was to stop playing small, right? So I was always hiding in plain sight, I might add. If you saw me, you would say, Susan, you're the most confident person I know. In some ways, it was true. In some ways, it was really not true. And in order for me to, come out into the world and really, share with conviction how I feel about training and the way we do training, I just needed to allow myself to get really present in that moment and to really show up. And so those kind of became my words for the year. That's why I have those here because I would often, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but I would go to do something and immediately like this thought would happen for me. Oh, nobody cares about that. And that quickly, right? Whatever I was thinking about doing would be gone. And so I needed to figure out like how to stop doing that. That's why I came up with this picture here in the corner with the yellow, right? I needed to allow myself to believe that being yellow in a sea of pink was actually a really good thing because that always felt really scary to me. So this really helped me that every single time I went to do something, post a piece of content, make an investment, hire a team member, fire a team member, right? Like any single time I would go to do something that felt uncomfortable, out of my wheelhouse, I just reminded myself how beautiful that a yellow flower in a sea of pink really, really was. So this is what I anchor, this is what I think about all the time. Am I allowing myself to be a beautiful yellow flower in a sea of really pink, beautiful pink flowers? So another thing that was really big for me this year was I needed to really expand my circle, my community, the people that I knew, the people that I interacted with on a daily basis. They were mostly like me. And I'm a really cool person, right? But if I want to get to the next level, I need to already be in the room with people who are at the next level. And it was really easy for me to believe that I wasn't that interesting, that there wasn't that much that people would care about, right? Or what did I really have to offer? Even just in the gym, I'm going to give you like the most simple, example of this in real life. But even in the gym, if someone was working out next to me and they had a better body or if they could do more reps than me, like it used to completely shut me down because there would be an embarrassment there, right? There would be this thing like, oh, well, I'm not that good. So should I really be here? And this year, really leaning into like, who would I have to become, right? What would I have to believe about myself? What would I be willing to do that people like Tucker Carlson would want to know me? Right? Would want to know me. And that little thing alone has catapulted some massive success for me this year in reaching out to people, making new connections, saying hello. My email list is up. My influencer, my social post consumption is way up. People who are reaching out to me for help and support has significantly changed. People respond to me now and say, I just love your emails. I mean, who does that? How great is that, right? That's all because I needed to really allow myself to show up, right? To be present and to believe that I was somebody that a person like Tucker Carlson would want to know. So I'm just putting it out there. If anybody knows him personally, is having a party or anything, invite me because I want to meet him. I think that would be amazing. And then the last thing I had on my vision board this year, which was a huge part of my business, was just to dream much, much bigger, right? Just to dream much, much bigger. So if I could have a team of 2, why couldn't I have a team of 10? If I could make, a couple of $100,000 in profit, why couldn't I make $1 million in profit? Right? If I could have one successful company, why couldn't I have multiple successful companies? Like, where was I limiting myself to just one? Right? Or just a little bit. And so these are all the things that honestly inspired some really great successes for me this year. And for me, the anchor is my family, right? The anchor is my family, so much so that I actually walked away from things this year that were really beneficial to me professionally, but not personally. And I don't want to create a business or a life or a job for myself that can't sustain the value of my family. And so I keep them front and center because they keep me centered, they keep me grounded, they keep me working for 80 hours a week. Because when you're very passionate about what you do, you really can fall into doing it all the time. But who is that really serving? And you might have a successful career or business, but if for me personally, making sure that I have time with my family, that I'm enjoying myself, that my health feels good. I spent a couple of years where I really ended up giving myself some serious health problems due to the amount of stress I was putting myself under to hit certain things, right? And so the family is the one that grounds me, um, and helps me see the bigger picture of what's really really important. So I want to just wrap up by saying that the last thing I want you to think about when it comes to your vision board is, can you see it every day? So those pictures, the value of the vision board, again, if I just were to really recap this, let me just make this nice and big. The value of the vision board is the work that goes into creating it. Okay, so if you haven't done all the pre-work required to create a compelling and sustaining vision that's going to get you results, then this piece of paper doesn't do anything for you. But the reason, this is a view of me at my desk, and every time I look up, I can see it. The reason this becomes valuable is because it is a daily visual reminder of everything I want to accomplish. So I want to thank you again for joining me. I want to invite you to connect with me. I have a wonderful journal that I give for free on how to create a compelling vision board session for your team. And if you would love to connect with me about how we could do this for your team, I would absolutely welcome that conversation as well. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you all again soon.